Cameron Dragons have 9 wrestlers headed to the state championships in Columbia starting on Thursday. We're visiting with the coach, Phillip Limb. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the chances that you feel you have with this group of getting possibly into trophy competition.
Yeah, I think it's going to take at least 4 medalists, if not 5 or 6, and it's one of those things, just kind of like a couple of years ago, we went down thinking, we have 1 or 2 kids that could medal, and we had some kids pull off medals. That's what it's going to take. And not only that, we're going to have kids that might have bad draws the first round still win a match or 2, and it's very possible. The problem, the thing that comes into factor is some of those teams from the other districts that take so many kids to state, and those extra 2 or 3 that win 2 or 3 matches, those points add up. But we're just going to have everybody wrestling tough and wrestling well, and that's what's going to take. So.
And you look at St. Genevieve, which is sending 10. Defending state champion Kirksville has 8. Smithville's got a large group going. Odessa, Oak Grove. So it seems to me anyway, Phillip, that there's maybe not that many teams that have a ton of kids that are going to the state tournament.
No, and you look at the top teams, it's fairly well dispersed. And then you get down towards the bottom, and there's a lot of teams that didn't take as many. It just seems like in years past, the majority of teams would be fairly even spread across, and you'd have 2 or 3 teams that have 10 or more, and it seems like there's there's good continuity. So we'll see what happens with the top 10 teams anyways.
Right. All right, now we know the matchups for the first round for everybody. The brackets are already out, and looking at them, some of the guys have got some pretty tough customers to open the tournament with.
Yeah, and coming out 4th in your district, that hurts, and then there are some districts we have in mind we like to draw. And it just kind of depends on the weight class, but there's some districts usually we like to draw, and some of the brackets fell that way, some didn't. You look at Ryan Burkhart and Kevin Segden, they both draw the #1 ranked kid in the state, but we'll see what happens with that, and maybe they can pull off an upset. It happens. So.
Yeah, and then if you do happen to lose, you just have to fight your way back. That has to be the mindset that I'm going to try to get back, and I want to try to get into the medal round.
Yep. You lose your first one, and you got to win three in a row to get in the medal rounds, which is possible. And it's a little bit different when in years past, 10 years ago or so, you lose your first match, and you had to hope that guy won his next one for you to be in it. It wasn't double elimination, so the double elimination helps, because you can get those kids that come back through. If they're a 4, they're going to wrestle the loser of a 2-3, so that helps, and we'll see what happens with that.
All right. Now, as far as the health of the kids, everybody at this point, they're a little bit tired, I'm sure, but then that adrenaline's going to kick in when they get to the mat there at Mizzou Arena. So, but you're in pretty good shape going into this thing.
Yeah, we're pretty healthy, knock on wood, and we're this week it's kind of like a maintenance week. We're trying to keep them fresh and keep them energized and excited about it. And the biggest thing, with the young guys is we've told them not to settle on just going. It's exciting. They get to go down, and stay in a nice motel and all the excitement of the big arena, but we tell them not to settle, and it's happened a lot of times. I can remember when I was young, you go down and think, man, I made it,
yeah.
But push for that. We tell them to push for that next level, get on the podium, and that's what we shoot for.
You bet. Hope for good things.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much for being with us. Good luck. We'll talk to you during the championships.
All right. Thank you.
Phillip Limb, coach of the Wrestling Dragons.